Guys, it has been about 6 or 7 years. I had a mic that was broken, and I finally got it back. And you probably have no idea what this is. I worked in a lot of different spaces when I was figuring out how to be an engineer. There was one studio that I was cutting my teeth in, and I got to work with one particular producer doing a whole lot of different stuff, and he would carry this mic around with him wherever he went. And one studio had one, and this producer used to carry it around, and he would record vocals on it. It was just the sound of a vocal. To me, it just made sense. That's how I learned watching this guy produce so many different vocals in different rooms and different vocalists, and putting it on acoustic guitar, putting it on piano, mono drum room. And it just always sounded good. And I couldn't understand when I was picking other things, because as you watch somebody, you want to try different things. And I couldn't understand the differences that I was hearing. I couldn't fully comprehend it until I left that studio, went out on my own, and I decided I needed to buy one for myself. And that is the Gefell UM70. Microtech Gefell, German company. This is like German precision in a microphone, right? So this is a separate capsule, and I guess it's a preamp handle. For those interested, this is the MV692. It is temperamental, and those parts don't exist anymore. So if that breaks, you're building a new microphone. You're not building this one again. When I got my hands on it, I was learning to track vocals, and it sounded great on everybody. It's forever ingrained in me, for nostalgia or otherwise. It's forever ingrained as that's the sound of a vocal. It always had very much its own vibe. And I went to other studios that had U87s, and I think in a lineup between this and a U87, a musician is going to always lean towards the Neumann because they're more recognizable, right? For me, it just never clicked because I learned on this first. I always wanted a U87 to be this. Neumann, if you want to send me one so I can relive those old experiences, let's go. Because I don't have a U87. I have it for a long time. I have a lot of microphones, but I do not have a U87. But I finally got this thing back after being broken for years. And why did it take so long? Let's go back to story time here. Gefell. Number one, I should mention, if you are in the market for a killer mic that is really versatile, that is also vintage, you can find this for pretty darn cheap, around $1,300 to $1,500. They are really cheap. Mine happened to have an issue with the capsule. There was something wrong with the capsule itself, and sending it back to Gefell, it had been there twice. It come back broken. They didn't work on it, so I was never charged. That's fine. But it had to go back. I had to send it again, and the turnaround time on this thing was going to be 3 to 4 months, and I just couldn't do that. That was the best case scenario, 3 to 4 months, if not a year. And the cost to do it was astronomical. I started talking to Colpix Vintage, Cole over at Colpix Vintage. If you don't follow his Instagram, Colpix Vintage, you are missing out on some crazy cool mics. Go follow this Instagram channel. He does sales, he'll repair old microphones and then sell them. I think it happens every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But go check that stuff out. Really cool stuff. I reached out to him to see if he could repair this. He gave me the name of Preston over at PTW. Preston answered all of my questions. He had this thing turned around in like 4 days. 4 days, $200. And I have my favorite mic back. So thank you, Preston. If you guys are around Nashville, actually anywhere in the US or outside the US, I don't know if he takes outside orders, but PTW Audio, I'll put a link down in the description below. Can't recommend highly enough. This dude knows his stuff, and he does it fast, and he's affordable, which is more than I could say for sending this back to the manufacturer. But I got it back. I got to put it in a session, and I felt like I was that little kid learning to produce a vocal again. I had this up against some of my favorite mics, and I don't know if it was nostalgia or if it just truly sounded good, or if I'm just blinded by the excitement of all this, because this was by far the cheapest mic in that lineup. And out of 5 or 6 songs, I'll be darned if we didn't pick this one out of all the other ones every time. And it could have just been right for her. So if I've learned anything playing with a ton of different mics, and I get to try a lot of different microphones, which I'm super thankful for. If I've learned anything, like, there's not a bad choice, right? There's bad choices for situations. There really aren't bad microphones. If you think about it, there's internal resonances of a microphone. The capsule will resonate based on the size of that capsule, the material that it's made of, the density of that capsule, the overall weight. There's also resonances with the windscreen itself. There's resonances of the internal circuitry of the microphone. All these things play together to give that mic what that mic is. Now you have to put that thing in front of someone's instrument, their voice, right? that person has their own resonances. And this is why I love everything about vocals. Like, my background was vocals. I met my wife doing vocal performance, singing opera. I got to sing with some really cool people and do things that I never would have thought I would have been able to do doing that. I even competed singing barbershop. So watch out. I got to do screamo and a heavy band. I've kind of run the gamut of doing vocals outside of Mongolian throat singing and polyphony and stuff. Like, I can't sing more than one note at a time. And I'm not the greatest vocalist. I'm not saying that at all. I just love the vocal instrument. Being able to take apart like that emotion to instrument connection that is really only achievable by the voice. That's coming from a guitar player. There's a level of emotion that is just so deep with the voice because you are the instrument. Being able to manipulate that resonance in a singer and hear like where it's coming from their face, like how's their body involved with what's happening? What's that emotional connection doing to the instrument itself? I geek out on it. I love it. I love coming up with vocal parts. A lot of that has to do with the decision of the mic. And there's never a bad mic. There's just a bad mic for a certain situation. But there are those microphones that just seem to work for a lot of people. Those are my 70% of the time mics. Those are the mics that I keep in my vocal booth right off camera here pretty much all the time, set up and ready to go to try them out and see what works for the vocalist. I got to put this up with those this past session, and I fell in love with it all over again. I think it goes without saying that this video is not sponsored. Who would sponsor this video? I'm talking about an old vintage microphone. That, by the way, is cheap. If you're in the market for a microphone like this, you should go buy one because they're dope. But all this to say, I hope you have something like this mic. I'm not saying this mic in particular. If you're not in the market for a Gefell, don't go buy one. What I'm saying is I hope you have something like that. If it's a piece of gear, I'm really into gear. I love talking about gear. I love the nuances of gear. If you're a guitar player, I hope you have that guitar that you can go to. No matter where you are in that kind of stage of life, you can go back to this thing and it inspires you like, oh, this is why I fell in love with this art. If you're a drummer, I don't know, maybe you have a certain snare drum that does that thing for you, or a certain cymbal, I don't know. Whatever that is for you, lean into that stuff. I have so many mics that I can pop up in front of somebody. So many things that offer so many different sounds, and there's something to being inspired in the moment. And if it's coming from the sound of a mic, cool. On paper, this thing shouldn't be my favorite mic. It's noisy. It doesn't have the high frequency response that a lot of my other ones do. There's a whole lot of mids that for some vocalists can get really muddy, but it is just a monster. This thing's a monster. If you want to hear this mic in like a modern context, I am pretty sure Brandon Lake recorded on a Gefell UM70 or a UM70T. Not totally sure on the model, but it looks an awful lot like a UM70 to me on the song Count 'Em. And that vocal is extra spicy. I love it. Figure out whatever that is for you though. Go find your inspiration. If it's gear and you love talking gear, talk gear, man. They're tools, but sometimes the tools are the fun part of the job. I'm a woodworker as well. It is one thing when you start a project and you have that one tool that you're really, really into, like as far as woodworking. I have a sander that I really like. I have a couple different sanders. I have one that I really, really like. And when you get to that part of finishing a piece and you can run your hand over something and it's just this tactile thing. And I just know I get the results I want with this one particular sander. It is very much that way with microphones. They're like sanders to me. That is a weird illustration that I'm making, but I think a lot of you will understand this. It is not the microphone that's going to make a project. It's not the plugin that's going to make a project. It's not the choice of snare drum that's going to make or break a project. It's not even the mix. It's not the master. If the song sucks from the start, all these things don't matter, right? Nobody's going to care what your snare sounded like on a crappy song. Nobody's going to care what your vocal sounds like on a crappy song. But when all these things play well together, these little nuanced decisions end up making a very big difference. And knowing all those differences to me is just fascinating. So that's why I love talking gear. That's why I love watching gear videos. That's why I love watching guitar YouTube, as weird of a world as that is. I get really into stuff like that. Looking through the lens of, okay, I just watched a string of videos on all these different guitar modelers. Which one's right for me? They're all good, right? There's not a bad option out there. Which one works for me? watching all these videos on Telecaster neck profiles. Is there a bad option? What works for you? Anyway, guys, 2024 is going to be a good one. I'm excited of the art that I've already been able to create with some really, really cool people. I'm looking forward to creating just a ton of art and doing some of the best work that I've ever done. First and foremost, this is a studio. This is a creative space where stuff happens. And if it weren't for that, there would be no YouTube channel. So I'm going to keep making videos as long as I possibly can. And I hope you guys are along for the ride. I'm Resident Loser Jeremy, and I'll see you in the next one.